We again have Fox News liberal Jessica Tarlov sounding off on MAGA, this time taking focus on Trump's VP JD Vance and his horrendous fact of life claim regarding school shootings before then getting into Trump and the curve he's graded on and how neither of them are meeting Americans where they are, especially with gun control. So I have these clips lined up for us. Let's knock them out one by one. Hey, you! Yes, you! Did you know we have memberships for as low as $3 a month? You can help the channel grow, reach new heights, and help protect democracy. And you get a long list of exclusive perks, from members-only polls to getting my videos early. The link is always in the description of every video. If you want, go ahead and check that out. And thank you guys.
So I hate when this happens because you lose the argument, you lose the discourse about how you feel about combating school shootings. And even if you took what he actually said, you could still then say JD Vance's solution is not what the American people want. The American people want universal background checks. The American people want stricter red flag laws. They want to raise the age at which you're able to buy a firearm. But instead, this is what's going on.
And they want security, which Kamala doesn't.
Okay.
Just putting it out there.
It's crazy. I even agree with everybody, and yet you still have to disagree.
No, I disagreed with everything you said about what Americans want.
Oh, but that's what it polls.
You left out the number one thing, which is hardening soft targets. That's what everybody wants.
Is the number one
Yeah,
thing.
but the immediate softening in schools that are that open. They're not like city schools in one building. They're basically open targets.
Universal background checks are the number one issue. Most Americans want these kind of common sense gun laws as a bare minimum. The only people who don't are, again, Republicans bought and paid for by the NRA and gun nuts. You can't show any data. There's not one data point that supports less gun laws leading to safer communities. Like, this isn't even something that's disputed. It's not something that you can say, well, I have my study and there's this study. Like, there's no studies that show that less gun laws, more guns in the hands of people lead to less gun crimes. That is just preposterous even to assume, right? If you make more restrictions for purchasing guns, gun crimes are committed less because less people who want to commit crimes with the guns won't get them. The more obstacles you place between X and Y makes achieving Y harder, so the outcomes that Y lead to become harder. That is a fact of life. Another fact of life, if we had zero guns, there would be zero gun crime. From this, you can extrapolate that less guns would equal less gun crime. So why would we put more guns in schools to solve the issues? Untrained teachers having to fire guns around children in heightened life or death situations they've never been into and are not trained to handle sounds like an absolute terrible idea to any real person. Involving more guns into any crime, into any situation of the such, only increases the likelihood that people will die, and the dice roll favors bad guy with gun killing good guy because it happens demonstrably more than good guy with gun stops bad guy.
They looked at a stream of consciousness that he said, and they picked out 7 words that actually make sense, and they slammed them together.
You mean like what they did with Biden when they cleaned up the transcripts?
Just try to move the goalposts. This is what I'm saying, okay. And this is what they were commenting on MSNBC. If you consider the fact that Kamala Harris had a reputation for being incompetent, word salads all the time, how many times do we hear about the passage of time, unburdened by what has been? That's because the media for Kamala Harris was quoting her directly or talking about, well, why isn't she cogent on this? But Donald Trump gets up there and he says, my child care solution is Marco Rubio, Ivanka, thank you. Childcare isn't actually that expensive. Thank you. Tariffs. And suddenly he gave a normal press conference. Okay. And that's what people are talking about.
Thank you. I mean, I feel so vindicated that what I've been saying for ages now, Jessica clearly agrees with. Trump will say the most outlandish, ridiculous, blatantly untrue, or incoherently babbled sentences, and the media grades him on such a curve that they just grab whatever they can to make it make sense and run with that instead. And because right-wing media controls the narrative and refuses to report accurately on Trump, it doesn't get covered nearly to the extent it should. Like, for instance, JD Vance saying that his solution to childcare is, well, just have your grandma and aunt help you and pitch in because we're not lowering costs. I mean, these people have no real solutions to real problems. They don't even have coherent answers to the questions, yet right-leaning media will focus on what can be unburdened by what has been, which is a fire quote, by the way. I do not care. I will die on that hill and defend it until the end of time. Or trying to label Kamala for word salads when she did just fine in her interview. She does just fine unscripted at talking with reporters. She does just fine talking in rallies. She does just fine when she talks to voters after the rallies, where Trump will speak for 2 hours at a rally and an hour and a half of it is incoherent word salads about things that nobody understands, like sharks getting electrocuted in water by batteries or birds being killed by windmills. And that is what you call a word salad, not what can be unburdened by what has been, which again, fire quote.